Welcome to Hard Beautiful Journey, where we embrace vulnerability as our superpower and let courage light our path. I'm Tiff Carson, here to share heartfelt stories of healing, grief, and resilience. Each week, I'll talk with guests from experts to everyday heroes about their journeys through adversity. Together, we'll uncover the beauty that emerges from life's challenges and how each experience can spark profound growth. Join us on this courageous journey of connection and transformation. Hey there, welcome back to Hard Beautiful Journey. Today I am joined by Ash Perrow, and I can't wait for us all to hear his story of transformation, resilience, and purpose. After surviving a near-death experience and overcoming PTSD and depression, Ash has dedicated his life to guiding others beyond their inner critic and into a life of fulfillment. His journey aligns beautifully with the Healing Heart Journey framework, where healing, self-discovery, and finding one's voice are key pillars. Today, we're diving deep, and not just into his story, but into the wisdom he's gained about choosing life, living with purpose, and embracing those moments that define us. This isn't just an interview. It's going to be an opportunity to explore how we can all rise beyond our turning points and create lives that matter. Welcome to the show, Ash. How are you?
Very well. Thank you, Tiff. What a beautiful introduction. It's so nice
Thank
to
you.
be on podcasts and hear the introduction when people do them. It's just extraordinary. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. As you can tell, my guest is from beautiful Australia, and we were just discussing the drastic difference in our temperatures right now. It is minus 35 Celsius here and plus 35 Celsius where Ash is. So we decided we're going to meet in the middle today. We're just going to pretend it's zero because he doesn't have air conditioning and I'm freezing. Right? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. So before we dive into your journey, I want to start with what I think is a simple but powerful question. If someone met you today without knowing your past, what would you want? What would you want them to understand about who you are and why you do what you do now?
Great question, Tiff. I listened to a couple of your podcast episodes, and you always ask really good, insightful first questions. What would I want them to know about me or feel about me? Correct?
Yep. If they
Yeah.
knew nothing about your past.
Mhm. I think just that he's someone that's really present with me. He's somebody that's not trying to change me or fix me. They're just here to love me and see me. And I think that's just such a powerful thing for all of us is with deep presence when someone just sees us and they can
Mm,
feel us. And, when we activate the heart space and come into the heart space and that there's something different about being truly in presence with somebody.
mhm.
And so that's what I would like somebody to perceive. But for the not just for me, but for both of us, that there's an exchange of deep presence.
So now let's say they have heard your podcast, and they know a little bit more about you. My listener might not know your journey, and one of them is a near death experience. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about your journey to where you are now?
Hmm. Yeah, I think in my lifetime, I feel like I've already lived nine lives already. It's extraordinary, and it's life just keeps opening up more and more beauty and more different ways of being and living in life and experiencing life. But one of the experiences was having a near-death experience, and that came from a surfing injury, surfing, and that injury actually came from not listening to an inner guidance moment that I had where a voice in my head told me if you go surfing you will hurt your back.
Really?
And really,
Like
and
you
I
heard
was
it say, you heard your inner voice say, "Not today, not today."
yeah, it was like God's voice in my head, and it said very clearly, very concisely, if you go surfing today, you will hurt your back. That's exactly what it said. And I had been on holidays for a couple of weeks. It was camping and surfing every day, which, up until that point, I'd surfed almost every day for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved it. And my back was getting sore during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was aware I did not want to go back to my job. I was over my job. When I started it, I loved it, but I was at the point where I was a school teacher and it was getting harder and harder to recover. And it was also not as rewarding as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I refused to change, even though I'd tried to leave teaching a few times. I kept coming back to it and I wasn't happy. And so in that moment, I chose a back injury rather than go back to work. And of course, I wasn't very good at listening to my inner guidance, right?
Yeah, a lot
And
of us aren't.
yes. And after that, I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to my inner guidance now. So what happened was the surf was big. There was nobody else out. I was like, great, I've got this to myself. This is going to be brilliant. And I heard the voice and I thought, I'm going out anyway. And so I dived through the first wave with my board, and then I was paddling towards the second, and I went to dive through that, and I popped 2 discs in my back. So what happened
Oh,
was, so they released from the vertebrae, were pressing on my nerves in my back. I it was immense pain. I was the only
oh my
person out
Lord.
there.
Yeah.
I had to paddle back in with one arm, and then when I got back into shore, I couldn't move. I was just standing up in almost waist deep water, holding onto my board as the waves were coming through. And somebody saw me, and they ran down and helped me get up the beach, which took about half an hour just to go about 50 meters. And so for a year and a half, I was trying to heal my back naturally. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually, my discs had deteriorated so badly that surgery was my only option.
Mm-hmm. Oh my Lord. So, in that moment when you felt that pain happening in that near death experience, a lot of people might assume that that event alone might change somebody, but we know that healing is a choice. Can you take us to that exact moment that you consciously decided to live differently and what that first step looked like for you? Was it that moment?
So one would think so, but I was very stubborn. My mind had this idea of what life should be like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in a relationship that wasn't working. We had a blended family. I was doing work I wasn't happy with, and I was basically living life for other people and not myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that experience didn't break that pattern. And so I had back surgery. During the surgery, the surgeons tore a vein and they didn't know. They stitched me back up, sent me back to the ward. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and during the night, I was in a lot of pain. The nurses kept saying, "Press the fentanyl button," and so I kept
Mm-hmm.
pressing the button for pain relief. And then in the morning, the physio came in, and he was very young. He was just fresh out of college, and he said to me, "Okay, let's get you up for rehab. Sit on the edge of the bed." And I sat on the edge of the bed and I looked down at my leg, and my leg was about twice the size. So my thigh was about twice the size it normally is. And I said to him, "My leg's not normally like this."
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Oh, that's okay. Just stand up and we'll get you moving." So I stood up and straight away I collapsed. And I was laying on the bed. I looked over to my left and I saw him run and press the medical
Mm-hmm.
emergency button. I heard the alarm go off. The medical team came running in. They started to attach the oxygen mask and the ECG monitors. And I could hear them saying, the monitors aren't sticking, because I was just bathed in this cold sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kept thinking, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. And then it though I could hear them talking about my blood pressure, and they're saying he's got no pulse, he's not breathing. And my blood pressure, I could hear them saying it's going lower, and I could hear them saying the amounts.
Yeah.
And when they said his blood pressure's 52 on 36, I thought, oh, okay, I'm in trouble right now. I'm in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
And it continued to progress, and they were saying, keep your eyes open, stay with us. And it was very difficult to stay conscious.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is dying. I'm dying right now. I'm
Yeah.
dying. And then I had this just immense sadness, just real, like, could feel it in my body. And it
Mm-hmm.
was, nobody I love is here with me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
dying and no one I love is in the room. And then the last moment was I looked over at the physio who was in the left-hand corner at the foot of my bed, and he just looked so frightened. And I thought, you poor guy, you think you've killed me.
Mm.
And then that's when I blacked out. And so my experience then was I became ripples. So instead of fainting and just having no consciousness, anything like that, I was ripples. And these ripples were just going out infinitely, nonstop. And so I was the ripples. It's hard to explain in
Mm-hmm.
words, but
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was the ripples were me, and I was just going out and out and out. And I was shocked that I could still think.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I've gone here, wherever here is,
Yeah.
and I still felt like myself. So I had no physical pain, I had no emotional suffering, but
Yeah.
I felt like myself.
Yeah.
And that surprised me. I thought, oh wow, okay. And so that, just that experience in itself, phenomenal impact on my life post near-death experience. And eventually I started to say, so these ripples going out, and I started
Yeah.
to say, I want to stay. And then I said, well, I want to stay for my partner. And I was still the ripples going out. I want to
Yeah.
stay for the children. And
Yeah.
once again, I was still the ripples just going out and out
Yeah.
and out.
Yeah.
And then I felt this very subtle warmth come over me. And it was very surreal. I said, I want to stay for the work that I do and walk the planet from my heart. And the instant I expressed that back into my body, opened my eyes, I could hear them saying, we've got a pulse, he's breathing. And I was in a level 11 pain, just extraordinary pain, because
Yeah.
I'd lost so much blood. It was pressing on my organs.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that was the turning point where it's like, okay, now I'm going to wake up.
So you describe them as ripples. Some people describe it as seeing like a bright light. Did you see that as well?
No, no. So I didn't see a light.
Wow, that is so. So I'm trying to visualize what it looked like for you. And did it feel like you were going somewhere or that you're like, it's so cool. I'm actually looking at
Mm,
or watching on Gaia, the network Gaia.
mhm,
I'm watching everything around near death experiences right now. And I just
mhm.
find them absolutely fascinating. And it always seems to be when people come back, they have said something like you did, where I want to live in my heart space. I want to show what I'm actually here to do. I'm ready to do that now. Is that what you felt and what you experienced?
So when I came back, I was very, very, very ill. It took me 8 months to get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was laying in the ICU and I was thinking, did that just happen? Did this just, oh, I wasn't living from my heart. I thought
Mm-hmm.
I was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I could take this as a coincidence that I had this thought process and the instant of that came back into my body,
Mm-hmm.
or I can actually acknowledge that something really extraordinary just happened, and I'm going to take that moment, take my experience and trust it. I'm going to learn how to live from my heart. I'm going to learn what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for all of us, it's like the questions that we have. So we have a picture in our head what life should be like,
Mm-hmm.
and then the questions of how we get to that picture. That's what drives our behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So
So
my question came.
laying in that bed, is that when you were
Mhm.
questioning like for it was 8 months you were questioning, or was it early on in your healing that you were like, okay, no, this is what I'm going to be doing now?
I questioned it for months, and then I got to a point and thought, hang on a second. If I just fainted, I wouldn't have been able to think.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a real moment of acceptance. It's like, okay, I'm just going to trust my experience. When I talked to the doctor, he said, oh, no, you were fine. You gave us a bit of a fright, but you were fine. I talked to a friend of mine that's worked in emergency for 20 years, and he said, whoa, dude, you went as close as you could possibly have gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just decided to trust that that experience occurred, and that I took it as a contract. I went, okay, this is my contract. This was the contract for coming back to Earth, was that I'm going to stay for walking. I'm going to walk the planet from my heart and stay for the work that I do. I'm not quite sure what the work is, so I'm going to start with my heart. What does it mean to live from my heart? And that was a process. It's always ongoing. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a human with human conditioning and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but that was the focus. How do I live from my heart? And so that enveloped my first few years after the near-death experience. What does it mean to live from the heart?
So once you decided to start living in your heart, was it mainly working on your own healing first, or did you go to healing yourself and working with other people? Because I know on my healing journey, I cannot even think about helping other people. And I actually took a break from my podcast. I took a break from everything to focus on my own stuff. How did that work for you?
So for me, and in hindsight, I can, the foundation of taking care of ourselves enables us to care for others.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're taking care of ourselves, we're more able to do our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, initially, it was okay, what does it mean to live from my heart? I'd done some personal work earlier with an organization called the Path of Love, who do retreats in 20 countries, including the US, I'm pretty sure Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Bali,
Oh, wow.
India. They do it, Russia. They do it in many, many countries. It's phenomenal work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd done some of their sort of like taster experiences. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go do this week-long retreat called the Path of Love. That's where I'm going to learn how to live from my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
Did you?
It's a phenomenal process. Anybody that anybody that's trying to navigate their way in life and is feeling stuck or confused, the
Mm-hmm.
Path of Love, amazing,
Can you
amazing.
give a little sample of what you did there to and
Mhm.
like what you experienced?
So you do deep personal work, you do group work where you're working with others, meditation, dance, movement, and it's a deep inquiry into what is happening into your life, and being able to connect with others and share what's happening for you, so that you learn the power of vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
and the power of your true self.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is something to connect you to your true self,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing like it anywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm. So a big part of my healing journey as well was just being vulnerable and allowing myself to be vulnerable. And I found that once I was, I I just felt so much shame around some stuff just be released, where it opened up my heart to have, I don't know, just a lot more room for other things and being able to help other people. So I'm very happy to hear that that was part of the journey for you, is that piece of vulnerability, because it is so important. It's so important in that healing journey.
Mm.
Have you, so in your journey you did experience PTSD and depression. What is one belief about mental health that you had to completely unlearn in order to heal? Was there something around mental health and PTSD and depression that was like something you were taught when you were growing up and that you had to unlearn it?
For me, it was that I could heal. The doctor said you have this for life. Yeah. You'll always need to be medicated. And the medication wasn't working for me. It just wasn't working. And I had this voice in my head that kept saying, go natural, go natural, go natural. And so now and that worked for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I found an amazing holistic doctor who was using, at that point, groundbreaking integrative health practices.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're much more common. So this was 15 years ago. And that worked for me. Having great therapists, all those, and I went off the medication very, very quickly.
Did
It
you?
was just, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I know that's, I have friends that are on medication and they actually need that to be able to function in life and have
Mm-hmm.
tried. And so acknowledging we all have our different paths. But
Absolutely.
for me, I had that voice. And so a little quantum thing to play with is you can picture that past version of yourself in suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the present, you send them guidance. So when I
Mm-hmm.
think of myself in that moment, those moments of suffering,
Mm-hmm.
like go natural, go natural, go natural. So I'm reinforcing that voice, which might have been coming from my future self already.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. So I talk about dancing in the rain. It's the title of my book, Finding
Mm.
Joy Even When Life Absolutely Feels Impossible. How do you help people that you work with find purpose and joy in their hardest seasons when all they want to do is give up? I've been in those moments where I cannot even think about going on anymore. What is some
Mm.
advice that you can give to people?
What comes to mind is, and I shared this today on my social media, is there's a head that we think from and there's a heart that we feel from, right? The
Mm-hmm.
head is judgmental, impatient, harsh. The heart, generous, kind, compassionate, loving, patient.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay. The head is really going to hammer you sometimes. It's really going to demoralize you and push you down. But the heart is like this furnace that's still burning there, even if you can't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's trusting that your heart is going to come through. There's the reason for going through whatever we're going through is to reconnect with who we truly are. And that's the heart. The heart is this power place that we can operate from. Say,
Mm-hmm.
when I come into the heart, okay. So all those practices like journaling and meditation and nature and exercise and reading and whatever it is, art, what dance, whatever fills it up for us,
Mm-hmm.
that connects you to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
The more connected to your heart that you are, the less the mind is going to try and run the show. So
Mm-hmm.
your mind is a tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have this amazing podcast, you have your seven pillars, you know, that these come from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
mind's job is to help you deliver that message, not to judge the message if it's right or wrong, right? The heart has already told you. So the
Mm-hmm.
mind is the tool. And so if we can stay connected that the mind is the tool, at times it's going to just try and crush me,
Mm-hmm.
but I still have this heart that has this infinite power that comes from me. It is me.
Mm-hmm.
And that experience in my near death experience of experiencing my true nature. We all have our own unique true nature. It's always there. And so just learning, how does our mind work? What are our triggers? How does our physiology work? What do we need to do to take care of our physiology? And it's similar for all of us, but can be very different.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, when we know ourselves, we can be ourselves. And when we be ourselves, we'll back ourselves. And as we back ourselves, we get to know ourselves even more deeply. And that creates this cycle of prosperity and abundance and confidence. Whereas if we stop learning about ourselves, then we're going to put a hard stop on that cycle. So,
Wow. It's so interesting just talking about the heart, and that is on my podcast cover. That symbol of one side is ash, which is your name, and one side is whole, and there's a bright light between them, bringing them back together when you've had a hard, beautiful journey. And just come back to your heart, and it will come back together and be stronger. And like you said, it can be anything like writing, drawing, painting, dancing, singing. All of those things are different for every person. But I found one of the things that brought me back to my heart was actually writing. And I never in a million years growing up thought I was a writer, like never. And it was when I listened to not just here, to my like my inner knowing and in my heart, I'm supposed to start writing. And that's when I really found my purpose. I got more clarity around my podcast, and that is when my 7 pillars came to be. Was when I actually went into my heart and I listened. And I listened and I heard, these are the things that you need to talk to people about. So it's beautiful that you brought that up. And one of the things that I also started to do, I stopped now, but I found joy in it, was drumming. I took some drumming lessons. And I know that you're also a musician. And creativity, it's such a powerful healing force. But so many people just take those things as a hobby. How do you see music as a tool for healing and helping people on that journey?
so in 2005, I had a stillborn daughter with my ex-wife, and
I'm
we
sorry
were
about
in the
that.
hospital afterwards. Thank you, thank you. Extraordinary gift to experience that in life, to have this beautiful angel that I can connect with, that who just loves me.
Mm-hmm.
But heartbreaking too, right? The
Very.
hard, beautiful journey. Yeah, life can be hard, but there's so much beauty. And we were in the hospital, and my wife had had a cesarean, so we needed to be there for a few days so she could heal. And I would sit in the waiting room and play my guitar. And that was the only relief I felt from just the overwhelming grief and guilt. I had guilt that I, wasn't rational, but that I should have prevented that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and music was the only relief from that. And something that came out of that was, well, I'm not going to be a dad right now, so I'm going to start playing live music, because my plan was just to be a dad. I wasn't going to go be a musician. I played music a lot at home, but I wasn't going to go be a musician. And
Mm-hmm.
coming out of that, I thought, okay, well, I need to do something. Okay, I'll start playing down at the markets.
Mm-hmm.
And phenomenal things happened. I started playing at the markets and got booked for all these gigs, ended up with all these guitar students. My ex-wife and I had another daughter within 11 months, which was, that was a shock in itself. We weren't quite ready, but that's what the universe had planned for us.
Yeah.
And then, I started, one day I was playing at the markets, and this guy came up to me and said, "Oh, I really love how you play music. Can I sing a song with you?" And I was like, "Sure." And so the second song he was singing, somebody came up and booked us for a gig. And from that, it just exploded. We got booked for lots of gigs. We were playing festivals. We're getting radio play all through Australia, through Europe.
Yeah.
And it was mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
And it started in that devastation in the waiting room in the hospital, playing
Mm-hmm.
music.
Mm-hmm. That's how I started drumming. I got a, I call them downloads. I got a
Mm.
message from my brother who passed away that he wanted me to learn Enter Sandman by Metallica. And I
Yeah.
had a drum kit that I got for Christmas a
Mm.
few years earlier. I'm like, oh, you're funny. All right. I'll find a drum coach or teacher. And so I found one and I went and I learned. And I didn't learn it completely, but I did pretty good. And I found even just in that experience, connecting with my brother even more and healing from that grief even more because there was laughter and there was just silliness. And my drum instructor happened to be one of the funniest guys I've ever met. So we just had like this great time together, right? So it's amazing when you actually listen to those voices or though your intuition, what can come of it. And you got booked on a whole bunch of gigs. So just by
Mm.
picking up that guitar and doing that during a really hard moment in your life led to so much more beauty, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
after that life-changing experience through your near-death experience, those kind of things can shift relationships quite drastically. How did your relationships change after that experience?
Mhm.
And what do you think is the key to building conscious, fulfilling connections now?
So I was in hospital for 3.5 weeks, and then 3 weeks after I got out of hospital, the relationship split up.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and you know, I remember thinking at the time, something like this, an experience like that, near-death experience, it's either going to make your relationship work or it's going to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to, and that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can go, okay, in hindsight, that was the universe guiding me, saying you weren't listening to your heart, but there was something in me that knew that things had to change. I didn't know that the relationship had to end, but my
Mm.
my thought was, okay, the relationship has to change, but it ended, and so my daughter and I, we moved out and we started life again, and I didn't even have a bed. I didn't have anything other than some music gear, a couple of kitchen items. My daughter had her toys in her bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
furniture, and things like that. And my health was very bad. I had to get friends come and help me to move out. And life just started from zero, zero health, zero possessions. And it was such a gift to recreate life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and now, I've been married. I've been with somebody now for almost 8 years, coming up to 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's beautiful, so beautiful. We both we actually met on the Path of Love retreat,
Oh,
right?
did
It's not
you?
about
Oh,
Yeah, it's
wow.
not about finding your partner, right? It's about connecting to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
experience the magnificence of yourself, which is there for all of us. But we connected there, and we didn't have anything to do with each other for a few months, and then we connected again, and we've been together ever since, and it's been just beautiful. There's vulnerability and connection, there's understanding around how to communicate, there's
Mm-hmm.
ability to hold space for each other, and that we're not responsible for each other. We both have challenges in life,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't have to fix it. We just have to, like we said at the beginning, right? Be present with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Just be present and love that person through whatever they're going through. And they're clever. They're powerful. They're going to work it out. That My wife doesn't need me to tell her how to live her life. She just needs me to love her.
Mm.
And it's the same for me. And it's extraordinary the power we can feel when somebody just loves us.
I'm trying not to ugly cry right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know how well it's going to work, but you said a phrase that is in my book. Oh, okay, I'm not going to ugly cry. I'm not going to ugly cry.
Mm. Uh, I don't know
Um,
if there is such a thing as ugly crying. Something about tears. It makes your eyes glassy. And
Yep.
it's like if you look at plants when it's raining, they have this beautiful shine on them. It's the same with the eyes.
You said love her through it. And that's what I did with my brother before he passed away is I actually heard God tell me. I was on a beach in North Carolina and I heard him say love him through it. And when I
Mm.
came home, I made that choice to love my brother through his struggles and through his addictions and through all of it. And it was what changed our relationship and brought us back together after 35 years of a really difficult relationship. Sorry. So I'm just so, it just makes me so happy to hear you say those words too, because they're so important. They are so important to love people through their stuff, through their journey. You don't have to fix them. And that's what I also decided with my brother. I'm not going to fix him anymore. I'm not going to try and change him and get him to be who I want him to be. I just want to love him through it and let him live his own journey. And when I made that choice, like he felt it. And it wasn't, I never even told him I was going to do it. It was just in my heart and he could feel it. And so, yeah, loving people through their stuff is so beautiful and
Yeah.
something that I wish that I could encourage other people to do more.
Yeah. And I imagine that's what you do with your work too. It's like loving, as a coach, uh, my job is to believe in people more than they believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And if I can just do that, is just believe in somebody and offer perspectives or help them get clarity, I'm not fixing it. They're responsible for their lives, but with with that perspective around just loving someone through it, you're both free. You're
Mm-hmm.
both free. They're free to find their way and experience who they are truly, and so are you. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, it connects you to your heart.
Yeah.
There's so much we can try and control, but it connects you to your heart. And for me, I had a near-death experience. Actually, we don't die. We might change how we exist,
Yeah.
but fundamentally, it's a more pure form of who we truly are.
Mm-hmm.
So I can love. I know that life's going to end. It could end in 5 minutes, or it could end in 55 years, or even 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can love my way through it, I'm going to be dying at the point where I go, actually, you know what? I turned up in that life. I really took on challenges. I lived the life that I wanted to live, even if I was afraid, even if I didn't know the outcome. That life, that was one worth living. I'm putting that down in my book, right? My
Yeah.
book of life,
Yeah.
I'm putting that one down, that was a good life. I woke up and I really stood up for who I am and really just kept loving myself all the way through and showing up for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is something that in my own healing journey and in like over the last 4 or 5 years, I'm so grateful for my own waking up and knowing that I want to be able to look at my book of lives and say this one was awesome. This one
Mm,
I showed up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know what it's like to die without the feeling of having shown up. That was one of the contrasts. Was afterwards like, oh, I wasn't living life to my full potential. What was stopping me?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. And so that's been the work the last 8 years. What's stopping me? How can I facilitate other people to actually live this extraordinary life, which is their version, not my version. They're the expert on their life. And yeah, it's just so beautiful to live life that way.
So, you do coach people on living a more fulfilling life, in quotes. That
Mhm.
phrase gets thrown around quite a bit. But what does that actually mean to you, living a more fulfilling life? And if someone listening feels empty or stuck, where should they begin living a more fulfilling life?
So two things come to mind. One is fulfillment comes from completion. So when we complete things, be it getting out of bed, be it exercising, be it playing the drums,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be, when you complete that, there's a sense of fulfillment. Fulfillment creates momentum. Momentum is a powerful, powerful force. So if someone's at their lowest point, okay, smallest steps. What's your
Mm-hmm.
smallest step? Okay, maybe it's to book in and go see somebody that can help you. Okay, complete that. You're on the road to fulfillment. And the other is trusting yourself, right? That's as in our upbringing, we are taught not to trust ourselves. Media, parents, schools, whatever it might be, we're taught not to trust ourselves. Yet we have this phenomenal inner guidance. And so one of the things in my link is that there's a free PDF connecting to your inner guidance. So okay, that's been one of the biggest changes for me, was learning to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
So many times in my life I was right all along, but I didn't trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the work that with people is, okay, what's your inner guide telling you? Okay, what are the steps to completing the mission of your heart?
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to connect in with fulfillment and joy and all those things that we want, and get a sense of our own inner power, which
Mm-hmm.
is always there. It's always there. So, okay, let's get the momentum.
Mm-hmm. That is exactly how my first book came to be. Was those two things, was completion and trusting. And like I said, I never in a million years thought that I could write or write a book. And it started with the idea that, okay, I think I can write a book. And then it started with an outline and pushing myself to complete chapter one. And once I completed chapter one, I was like, I completed a chapter. What the
Mm,
heck? And like trusting that I could actually keep going, right? And so yeah, like actually getting through that next chapter, and or I even set up this thing with the amount of words that I wanted to write for by a certain date, and like completing those, that goal of the number of words that I had down. I was blown away by how proud I was of actually completing something that I actually said I wanted to now do. And the trust part did take a little bit longer. Um, I think it was because of the content of the book and like really knowing that, okay, I want to put this out into the world, right? That trust took a bit longer, but once I made the decision, I trusted in its message and I trusted in what I know, the people that I knew that it was going to help. I trusted in that overall message. So I completely agree with completion is a big one because now it's leading to other things that I want to complete, right? And I find my
mm,
life has become way more fulfilling because I'm doing all of this other stuff that I never in a million years thought I'd be doing, like book signings and, like it's crazy.
yeah.
So
Mm,
I love that you're doing that work with people. I love that you are a guide for them in and a coach in helping them do the same thing. I love it.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Tiff. And what an extraordinary gift for me to be a coach. to have got to the point in my life where I can help other people with my experience. And one of the things that for me was unexpected is that now I work with heart-based professionals on their messaging so that they can help people. So literally now I help people who help people. It's a mind-blowing experience around the ripples, right? I was
Uh-huh.
in one ripple and now I've moved out,
Yeah.
and this is all just from showing up and trusting.
Mm-hmm. And that's the same with me too. It started with a podcast, then it went to a book, and then it's going to speaking, and then it's doing this.
Mm.
And like, all right, I'm here for the ride. Let's do this, And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
by doing those things, completing those things, and it doesn't have to be writing a book. It doesn't have to be
Mm.
speaking on stages. It can be getting out of bed. It can be brushing your teeth. It can be going for a walk. It can be what might be small to some people are huge to those that really can't see the light right now. You
Yeah,
know?
so true. So true. And if you keep showing up, it does get easier.
Mm-hmm.
That's there was part of me that was back almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago, was so
Mm-hmm.
broken,
Mm-hmm.
and would be blown away with what my life is like now and how I am now.
Mm-hmm.
It's extraordinary what that transformation is across time. And so even if you can't see the bird's eye view right now,
Mm-hmm.
so, okay, connect with people that can help you see the bird's eye view.
Mm-hmm.
Had so many therapists and wonderful people that have helped me along the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, all those resources are right there, whatever level you're at, right? Even if you're at the level of a leader, you still need support and resources around you, even more so.
Mm-hmm.
So we all need it. So if there's someone there, it's not your fault. Just get the support in around you and those people that really believe in you so that you can keep going.
Mm-hmm. I think in order to do that, I think people have to be vulnerable
Mm.
and admit that they need somebody to be there beside them, to guide them, to not fix them, but to hold space for them and hold their hand and listen. And that's basically what I'm trying to do with my podcast, and by bringing other people on to the podcast like yourself that can be a resource for them where they can look you up and be that support system for them, right? So I think when we all do this work together, we're just helping so many more people. And I'm so freaking proud of you for doing the work that you're doing, and I'm proud of myself for doing the work that I'm doing too.
Yeah,
And
acknowledging that in you too, Tiff.
thank you. If your journey has taught you anything, Ash, it's that life
Mm.
can change in an instant. What impact do you hope that your work leaves behind in this lifetime?
If I didn't do one more single thing to help anybody, I would be so satisfied with what I've already done. And things like your podcast, this doesn't just change the person who's listening. This changes the generations that follow that person. And so the work that you're doing and the work that I'm doing, this is impacting tens, hundreds, thousands of generations down the line,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our ancestors did things that have led to us being here right now. And it's the same. This is a gift to anybody that follows that lineage. The
Mm-hmm.
way that you are, how you treat people. That's what people learn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they pass it on because that's how human nature. So for me, that's there's everything else is a bonus from here, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel the same way too. Yeah, it's just, I'm just so grateful for these interviews and these moments. So I always ask my guest before I end every interview what you are grateful for today, because one of the big pillars in my Healing Heart Journey framework is gratitude. And I know that my gratitude is so, so deep for this podcast. Like I said, because I am talking to somebody in Australia, okay? Like that is
Mhm.
just it's still mind-blowing to me that I have this ability to talk to people in other parts of the world with different perspectives, different lived experiences. What are you grateful for today, Ash?
I'm grateful for people that help people. It's just such a gift, and it's the gift that keeps going out like the ripples.
Mm-hmm.
That's and we don't have to sacrifice ourselves in the way like that's what I used to do was self-sacrifice. It
Mm-hmm.
can be an exchange, but those people that help people, that's creating just phenomenal change in the world. There can be so many other things that's happening, but I'm so grateful for those people that help people because that's the human connection. It's never going to be replaced, no matter how good AI gets.
Mm-hmm.
Human connection is never going to be replaced.
I agree. Never, ever that uh, just looking somebody in the eyes and feeling their energy like that will never, never be replaced, ever.
No, no.
So you work with clients one on one and you facilitate workshops. I am going to put your screen up here.
These days, it's I still work one to one with people that want to connect to their heart and move forward in their lives. But I also work with heart centered professionals so they can get their message out in the world.
Awesome. There's Ash. Wonderful. So, if you want to connect with Ash, you can check him out on his website and on Instagram. I love your Instagram account. I'm always looking at your videos and
Um,
always find them very, very inspiring. So, thank you for doing those and keep them up because I look every single day now that I know you. So, thank you again for being here and sharing your hard, beautiful journey with us. And yeah, I'm just grateful for today. So thank you.
yeah, thank you, Tiff, and thank you for making such a difference to many, many generations to come just through living from your heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here for this episode of Hard, Beautiful Journey. I hope today's episode inspired you to embrace your own vulnerabilities and recognize the strength within you. Remember, every story of resilience adds to the beauty of our shared journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps me spread hope and healing to even more listeners. Until next time, keep shining your light and embracing the beauty in your journey. Bye bye.